The wedding hall glittered with chandeliers, every table decorated with white roses and golden ribbons. Guests whispered in excitement, waiting for the moment when the groom would walk down the aisle to meet his bride. She stood there, radiant in her gown, her hands trembling as she clutched her bouquet. Her heart raced, not from joy, but from a growing fear that something was terribly wrong. Minutes turned into hours, and the seat where the groom's family waited grew heavier with silence. The whispers began softly, then spread like wildfire through the crowd, "He's not coming." Her eyes darted to the entrance again and again, praying for a miracle, for him to appear and prove everyone wrong. But the doors never opened. Instead, the music faded, the chatter grew louder, and the weight of humiliation pressed down on her. What was supposed to be the happiest day of her life became the most devastating. Her cheeks burned, not with blush but with shame, as pitying eyes fell upon her. The dream she had built for years, of love, of partnership, of a beautiful life ahead, crumbled before her very eyes. She felt abandoned, broken, and betrayed, left standing in front of hundreds of witnesses with nothing but unanswered questions. In that single moment, her fairy tale shattered into pieces, leaving her to walk away from the altar alone, carrying a wound so deep that no one in the hall could truly understand. It was the end of one story, though she had no idea a greater one was still waiting to begin. The years that followed were not easy. The once hopeful bride carried the weight of that day in silence, but she refused to let it define her. Instead of drowning in bitterness, she poured herself into rebuilding her life. She found work as a nurse's aide, often taking extra shifts just to stay busy. The hospital became her second home, and the patients became her purpose. She discovered strength she never knew she had, and with every smile she gave to the sick and every hand she held in their final moments, she stitched her own heart back together. Her kindness was not loud or boastful, but it left an impact everywhere she went. Families trusted her, children adored her, and colleagues admired her selflessness. Behind her gentle eyes, though, lived a memory she never spoke of, the moment she was left at the altar, the love that turned to betrayal. She carried it like a scar, a quiet reminder of how fragile promises could be. Meanwhile, the man who had once been her groom rose higher and higher in the world of business. His name appeared in magazines, his wealth grew beyond imagination, and yet his heart felt hollow. No amount of luxury or success could quiet the voice in his mind reminding him of the day he walked away. At night, when the world around him went silent, regret crept in. He had everything, yet he lacked peace. Fate, however, had a way of bringing broken stories back together. It was on an ordinary afternoon at a hospital charity event that their worlds collided once again. The ballroom buzzed with polite conversations and laughter, filled with wealthy donors and volunteers. He arrived dressed in an impeccable suit, his presence commanding the room as cameras flashed and people rushed to greet him. To everyone, he was the picture of success, a man who had it all. Yet the moment his eyes fell on one particular figure among the volunteers, the polished mask he wore began to crack. There she was, standing at a corner table, arranging medical supplies with quiet grace. Time seemed to freeze as he recognized her, the woman he had once promised forever to, the woman he left waiting at the altar. His breath caught, and for a moment, guilt washed over him so strongly that he almost turned away. But she looked different now. Stronger. Her smile wasn't forced or fragile. It was genuine, offered freely to patients and families she greeted. The light in her eyes was no longer tied to him, and that realization shook him more than he expected. She, too, saw him across the room. Their eyes met, but instead of bitterness, she gave a polite nod before returning to her work. No anger. No tears. Just calm acceptance. It stunned him. In that instant, he realized she had not only survived the pain he caused but had grown beyond it. For the first time in years, he began to wonder what true success really meant. The evening carried on, but a sudden commotion drew everyone's attention. A little boy, no older than 7, sat in a wheelchair near the stage. His mother, her eyes red from crying, explained that her son needed urgent surgery, but the cost was far beyond what she could ever afford. The boy's frail hands clutched hers tightly, fear flickering in his eyes. The room fell uncomfortably silent, people shifted, whispered, but no one stepped forward. And then, without hesitation, she did. The same woman who had once been left broken at the altar knelt beside the boy, taking his small hand in hers. Her voice was steady as she told his mother, "I will help. I'll sell what I have, we'll find a way." Her promise wasn't grand, but it was real, full of the same compassion she had built her life upon. He stood frozen, watching the scene unfold. The very woman he had abandoned years ago was ready to sacrifice everything she owned for a child she didn't even know. His chest tightened, shame rising in him like a tide. What had he been doing all these years? Chasing wealth, building empires, collecting luxuries, and here she was, richer in spirit than he could ever claim to be. It was in that moment that the truth pierced him: he had mistaken love for possession, success for money, happiness for power. Watching her selflessness, he finally understood what it meant to truly give, and for the first time in years, he wanted to change. With tears threatening to escape, he finally stepped forward. Clearing his throat, his voice trembled as he announced to the crowd, "The boy's treatment will be fully covered, every expense, every need." The room erupted in gasps, but his eyes stayed fixed on her. For years, he had hidden behind wealth, yet in this single act of giving, he felt more human than ever before. She looked at him, surprise softening into quiet understanding. His eyes carried a weight of regret as he whispered, "I'm sorry, for that day, for the pain I caused. I thought I was choosing freedom, but all I chose was emptiness. You taught me what real love and humanity look like." Her gaze lingered on him, not with anger, but with the strength of someone who had already forgiven long ago. "Life isn't about the pain we carry," she said gently. "It's about what we do with it. If you've truly changed, let your actions prove it." At that moment, the little boy smiled weakly, his tiny fingers wrapped around hers. Hope returned to his mother's tearful face, and the crowd saw something far greater than wealth: they saw redemption. The man's heart, once chained by regret, felt lighter. She had forgiven, the child had a chance at life, and for the first time, he saw a future filled not with riches, but with purpose. And though their love story had ended years ago, their shared act of compassion became the beginning of something even more powerful, a reminder that kindness can heal even the deepest wounds.